There's been an international feel to this podcast recently, and today is no exception. Hello and welcome to Zestology, the podcast all about energy, vitality and motivation. I'm Tony Wrighton and I'm recording the intro to this podcast in Shanghai in China. I've been over here for the last week presenting the World Cup of Pool, a 9-ball competition for Sky Sports. And tonight is the final evening that we're here. We're flying back tomorrow. And yes, certainly an interesting place. The city itself, I'd love to say that I found a lovely, shady, quiet spot to record a podcast in a nice kind of quiet area of Shanghai, but the truth is I haven't seen any. It is the most incredible metropolis. It's so built up. The closest thing I can describe it to is, I don't know if you saw the recent Blade Runner film or the recent Ready Player One film. The cityscape in both those instances looks a little bit like that. Everything goes upwards. I mean, it's just skyscrapers of flats as far as the eye can see. Neon signs everywhere. Air quality isn't great. A lot of traffic and very little space. So you walk down the street and you've got mopeds and bikes and skateboards and people all sharing the same tiny bit of space. It's gloriously hectic, let's put it that way. That might sound negative. I've really enjoyed it here as well. But it certainly is quite a different environment from what we're used to in London. And it's an international podcast because I was in Texas fairly recently interviewing Luke Storey. So I've come from Texas via London to Shanghai to do the intro to this podcast. But this podcast itself was recorded a few weeks ago in Texas with Luke Storey. And the last couple of times that Luke's been on, we talked about biohacking, kind of supplements you could take, lifestyle practices you could try out to optimize your health and wellness. Today, we talked about something completely different. We talked about celibacy. Is celibacy something that might enhance your life? He's been celibate for quite a while, and he seems to be quite enjoying it. It's not my bag, but maybe it'll be yours. You can listen on and you'll hear all about why he's been celibate. Before we get into the podcast, what have I enjoyed about Shanghai? Well, one of the things I've really enjoyed is I'm quite into Qigong. I think it's a very interesting form of movement. And the guys in China, the men and women, seem to find it kind of an integral health practice. Now, it's about 8 o'clock in the evening. It's quite a dank evening. And I've just kind of stepped away from the street a little bit. And there is an oldish man in front of me, just looking at his reflection in the side of the building, doing some very advanced Qigong postures. It's 8 in the evening, he's on his own, he's outside, he's doing his thing. I love that. He's just found a space in the middle of all this madness in the crowded city of Shanghai, and he's doing his Qigong exercises. That's one of the things I've really enjoyed about this city. Another thing which is a little bit more of a challenge, if you're gluten-free in Shanghai, if you don't eat gluten, good luck. It's been very tough, really hard. Nobody speaks any English and it's quite hard to make yourself understood. I've got one of these little things on my phone saying, this man doesn't eat gluten, so don't feed it to him, but half the time I don't think they've taken much notice. Anyway, it's time to talk to Luke Storey. Here he is talking about celibacy and some other stuff on Zestology. So how you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great, Tony. Since I last saw you, much has happened. I know that both of our podcasts have progressed and grown, and so I'm just kind of like riding the wave of that whole thing. And super stoked right now, especially to be recording outdoors, looking at downtown Austin. It's beautiful, so I'm living the dream.
It's pretty good. We should probably... Oh, your camera's falling over there. We should probably make it clear that if you hear like a lot of frantic cheering in the background at Paleo Effects, there's another kind of festival within a conference, which is it's massive Jiu Jitsu tournament. That's
I noticed that.
It's great. Have you been watching any of it?
You know, it's those types of things are strange to me. I've never been a real sporty guy.
Yeah.
And I would say if there was a sport that's baffling to me the most, it would probably be rolling around on a guy on a mat. I'm not trying to sound homophobic or something. I'm just like, I literally can't think of anything worse than like getting on a mat and like wrestling with a guy. Totally unappealing to me in any sense, especially watching it. No, doing it would be worse, maybe, but I haven't done it. Watching it, second least favorite thing to do.
Well,
but I'm happy for
give
people.
it a go. I've been watching today, and actually, there's a real art to it. And if you haven't had your legs sandwiched, your head sandwiched in between someone's upper thighs, held down and then tapping out, then you haven't lived.
This is what I'm saying. Like, that does not sound fun.
Yeah.
But no, it's cool. What I really like about PaleoFX is that there is a lot of opportunity for movement. I mean, there's little stations all over where you can stretch and roam on and foam rollers and bouncing balls, and a lot of the health conferences are sort of missing the physical movement aspect, which is very unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that was ironic. They're in these really stuffy sort of hotel rooms or hotel conference rooms and the like, and are kind of the antithesis of health in many cases. So I've actually enjoyed just taking some movement breaks and stuff here and kind of like, oh yeah, wow, it's not actually weird to roll around on the ground, which I always do, but I'm always the only one doing it, so I look like a nutter. So
listen, last time I saw you, you were celibate, and that was, I saw you about 6 months ago, so it's probably been about 3 months that you've been celibate. Are you still, and why?
I am still. It's going on about 10 months now. I think I might have hit the 10-month mark, or at the end of this month it'll be 10 months. And it's the first time I've done that since 1986. The reason that I'm doing it is to really sort of just reset. It's almost like if your computer's buggy and you have that little, rainbow Apple wheel of death, and no apps will open or close, and you're just kind of getting a pattern that you're stuck in on your computer. You have to do a hard reset, and I'm kind of doing a hard reset on myself at the moment so that I can really assess what I have to offer in a relationship with a partner, and what I am after and what I'm looking for and what I require from them in return. And for me, in order to do that, I had to really disengage from all relationships with the opposite sex. I mean, even flirting, I don't do any of that. It's not just sex. No pornography, no like, hey cutie, no attention seeking, no validation, none of that, and just really getting to know myself and learning how to feel comfortable in solitude.
I mean, you never do things by halves.
No, I'm hardcore.
Do you? But
I'm extreme.
I remember when you told me before, and it sounded like, you and I have both been through various processes in different ways, but it did seem, and it does seem, quite an extreme way of coming to terms with relationship issues. How long is it going to last?
Well, here's the thing, is I'm also at a point in my life where I don't find casual sex fulfilling, which is bizarre because I've always loved that, It's just like, what other kind of sex is there, So if I'm not going to have casual sex, then the other type of sex would be someone that I'm in a probably exclusive, committed, intimate, loving, healthy relationship with, And so since I'm not in a relationship like that, it's just easier to not entertain the whole thing, because I wouldn't want to have sex with someone that I don't really know and care about at this point.
Yeah, but if you're not flirting with anyone, you might not be finding anyone to do that with. It's like a vicious circle.
Well, here's the thing, is I'm consciously have made a decision not to do that for a period of time. However, at first the period was 6 months. And I felt at the time like, surely I'll have it sorted out in 6 months, and I'll have a nice reset, and I'll be able to enter back into the dating pool and hopefully meet someone and form a healthy relationship and have a healthy relationship to our sexuality together, or whatever that looks like. But at 6 months, I just was like, oh my God, no, this feels amazing, and I'm learning so much about myself, and I'm doing a lot of reading and writing and just studying relationships and intimacy and sexuality and codependency and love addiction and sex addiction and all these things that I just never looked at that stuff, because I was in and out of relationships and having sex with people, and was, I guess, relatively happy with the results I was getting at that level. So at 6 months, it was like, there's way more benefit to be had here. So I just made it indefinite. But I do anticipate, I don't have like an end date, but I do anticipate probably within the next couple months, which would be about a year. It feels about right, where I would then flirt accordingly and ask a lady out on a date here and there and kind of explore that part of myself. So I'm not trying to like renunciate sex or be a monk. It's not a moral thing at all either. It's not like I didn't like stop watching pornography out of any morality. I think pornography is amazing and everyone should do it that wants to do it. But for me, it was interfering in my spiritual growth and interfering in my sense of well-being and balance and being able to feel really centered in my body. And it just was like, oh yeah, this doesn't work for me anymore. I'm a 47-year-old man. It doesn't feel good to be hiding in my bedroom like with my phone or my laptop. Like, it feels so much more centered without that. So it's more about just, I don't know, I was going to use the word purity, but that implies some sort of morality. It's just purity of energy and an elevation of energy. And I'm doing things constantly that work on my consciousness. The Kundalini Yoga, I mean, we've done a lot of this stuff together, and those things are all meant to raise your vibration. So I found it's just counterproductive to do things that bring my consciousness back down into another direction that's kind of away from or in opposition to the direction that I'm going, which is a closer relationship to source and spirit and my fellow humans, Yeah. So anything that I'm doing that is interfering with that, it's got to go. And whether that's watching horror movies or listening to punk rock or whatever, just certain things I've enjoyed in the past, and I'm like, yeah, it's not a vibrational match anymore, And so my hope is that having done a reset, that once I do enter back into the world of dating and things like that, that I'll have a different point of view and perspective on how I enter into those relationships, and probably have a different sense of discernment on what serves the highest good for me and my life, and the highest good for the partner that I so choose to delve into relationship with.
Such a stud, and now
I'm an old fogey now. I mean, it's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of wild oats to sow, and I just, it's funny. The thing about it, dude, is that, and it's funny talking about these things publicly, but I do it because I think other people listening will be able to benefit. If I had heard this when I was 35 from some 47-year-old guy, it might have made sense to me. It might have saved me from wasting my time and other people's time in a sense, but it's like I started to realize a couple years ago that I always had this like fear of losing my freedom, right? It's like my freedom, that's just my autonomy as a human being. That's something that I've held in such high esteem and high value, that being monogamous in a relationship, being exclusive, committing to someone, getting married, getting engaged, having kids, even calling someone my girlfriend was terrifying, because I had so many issues around feeling confined and trapped and stuck, and I just want to do what the fuck I want to do when I want to do it. And that was, from that perspective, from that vantage point, was freedom to me. But having had a few experiences where I was able to really explore a deeper level of spiritual intimacy with women in my life, and then having committed to a couple of them finally at a pretty late stage in the game, to be honest, relatively speaking to other people that I know, I started to find, no, the true freedom is the freedom to actually be seen and to allow myself to be loved deeply and allow myself to love someone else, and to not have other people involved in that and muddying up the waters, to just like really commit myself to someone, and so that, to I think a lot of other people, is like, yeah, duh, I figured that out when I was 30. People eventually kind of settle down. I'm generalizing, but most people I know in early 30s, mid 30s, are like, yeah, I sowed my wild oats in college and I got laid, and yeah, I know how to do that. It gets boring. That just took a lot longer for me, and now it's just like, God, that seems so not fun to me. It's just, I don't see any value at this point in having that kind of exchange with someone, unless there's a much more meaningful mutual goal in that, which would be a relationship that allows you the freedom of exploring intimacy in ways that I haven't yet explored. It's a different kind of freedom.
Yeah, and it's interesting, we're here at Paleo Effects. You and I have just been watching the end of Aubrey Marcus's talk. He's famously polyamorous, and he's engaged to be married, but he's still polyamorous.
I know.
And I know you've just been on his podcast, and you went over to his studio yesterday. So presumably you're not down with that anymore. You want to meet one person and be in one relationship with one person. Or are you leaving the door open?
No, dude, I'm not at all. I've tried all types of relationship arrangements, from having multiple partners in open relationships where one person was, taking advantage of their freedoms and the other wasn't, and things like that. I don't know. I don't see a way to do it that's not messy. And it's weird, and I don't know how this happened to me. It's not something I decided to do, but I seriously don't want to have sex with someone that I don't care about or that I don't know. I'm like, my energy is really precious to me now at this point in my life.
I think some people are listening and they're like, it's so boring, just get out there.
You know, well, here's the thing. I used to be able to have sex with women. I don't care how long. I don't even need to know their name. I mean, we could just be like, hey, you're attractive. Do you find me attractive? Yes, let's have sex. No strings attached. Great. It was awesome. Dude, that's so fun. And I loved doing that and traveling and going to different countries and exploring people there and doing all of that. It's really weird. This could change. Maybe in 5 years I'm like, yeah, you know what? I still want to go play around and have fun. I don't find that fun anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think my heart is really open, is what's happened, through the Kundalini and all the things that I'm doing. I'm very sensitive, dude, and when I bond with a woman in that way, I can't help but start to really care about them. And then that's where it gets messy, because there's care there, but for me, there hasn't been a safe container of trust on both sides, and I don't want to hurt anyone, and I don't want to be hurt. And in order to do that, for me at this point, there has to be some parameters of agreement where you're both going like, cool, we could go have fun, but what's more valuable is really getting to deeply know and love one another, and these are, as I said, some people might find that boring, but this is coming from a guy who's explored the other realms like ad infinitum. Like, I've had plenty of fun. If I never had sex again, I've had enough of it, That's not to say that I don't want more of it, but just I want to do it in a way that is that's a bit more conscious. At least it seems that way. Who knows? Maybe after a couple months, I'm like, all right, fine. Yeah. I've done the celibacy thing, and maybe I go on a few dates and I have sex with people, and nothing comes of it. I mean, that could happen. I don't really have like a rule. It's just I feel what resonates with me at this point, and something a bit more deeper is what seems attractive to me at the moment.
Well, I hope you find it.
Sure.
On a more physical level, have you found an increase in or a difference in your energy levels through being celibate? I know you spoke to John Gray on your podcast.
Yeah.
John Gray famously was celibate for 9 years, and that included no orgasms.
Yeah, I think that's true celibacy.
And he swears now by one orgasm a week.
I know.
Which is
try to get a female partner to go along with that. It's tough. I tried that one. I'm like, John Gray says, my girlfriend at the time was like, yeah, fuck that, I'll find a new boyfriend. I was like, okay, well,
it's very Taoist.
Twice?
It's very Taoist.
I know.
They say the older you get, the more you need to regulate your, what they would call, emissions. Emissions. So clinical, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't sound very eco-friendly either. It's like, I need to limit my emissions. Contributing to global warming. But to your point with the energy, dude, I mean, it's not only like the physical exertion of sex and releasing your chi or whatever. You'd be amazed, anyone listening that hasn't tried this, just how much energy goes into checking people out and getting that at flirting with them and letting them, all the social cues and the body language and, throwing the bait out everywhere you go and all that, which I've always really spent a lot of energy on, but unknowingly, I didn't know. Everywhere I go, I'm trying to like make all the girls look at me, and I want that attention, and I want just, even if I don't want them, I want to know that they want me, all these weird ego games and unconscious drives and things like that. And once you stop doing that, it's like, oh my God, I used to spend so much energy. Even just say like an attractive woman drives by in the car next to me. I'm never going to meet her. We're not flirting, but I have to just keep looking over there, rubbernecking, just to check out her face or hair or boobs or whatever. And it's like, just to stop doing that has really centralized my energy. And the net result of that, besides just more mental and emotional presence and balance, is my creative output is insane. I mean, the amount of work I've gotten done in the past few months is, to me, just in self-reflection, astonishing. And I've looked at that. Well, what's changed? Oh, shit. I'm not like spending energy texting that girl back and forth or doing the dating apps.
You've got more time.
Yeah, doing the dating apps and the Instagram likes and the DMs on Instagram, like trying to flirt. Is she taking the bait? Does she like me? Does she know I like her? Like, all of that, like, sort of human mating ritual energy is just like off the table, and what's left is, wow, what can I do for my website or my podcast, or work on an online program, or go speak at an event like I've done here at PaleoFX, or do retreats, and all of the things kind of in my business plan and marketing plans have become increasingly more possible just because that energy is now focused into a different type of creation, other than the energy of creating sexual chemistry or a sexual experience, or ultimately offspring as a result of that sexual experience. It's like the creative energy. It's Napoleon Hill. He calls it transmuting your sexual energy. This goes back to the New Thought movement of the 20s and 30s. I mean, there was a lot of talk about harnessing your sexual energy. Even, it goes back further than that, as you said, in Taoism, but just in recent Western culture, this is not a new idea. Even in the sort of New Thought movement of scientific Christianity, it wasn't even about the morality of only having sex with your wife. It was about you're bleeding and leaking energy that could be used for something constructive, like starting a company or building a school, or devoting your time to an orphanage, or whatever noble cause or creative cause that one might have to endeavor. So it's really interesting. But talk to me in 2 months. I mean, I might be like, on a brothel
by the
trip,
time this is
on a
published.
brothel tour of Amsterdam. Who knows? I don't know what the future holds, but I'm enjoying it right now.
Just interrupting this podcast for one moment to remind you that it is brought to you by my new NLP course, iwanttounplug.com. It's all about using the skills of NLP to beat tech distraction. And for years, people have been saying to me, and actually more recently when I talk about NLP on the podcast, they say, where can I go to learn about NLP? So me and Dr. Stephen Simpson, who is a regular guest on the show, we thought it'd be fun to put together an NLP course, not where you're talking about some of these NLP skills, which are very good but quite dry, not where you're just talking about them on their own, but where you can apply it to something. So we've applied it to beating tech distraction and unplugging and getting over overstimulation from tech distraction. So if you're someone who spends a little bit too long looking at pictures of your best friend's mum's sister's dog on Facebook, you might want to go to iwanttounplug.com, learn a bit about NLP, start to unplug, and I promise you, the best things in life do not involve screens. So iwanttounplug.com, use the code Zestology to get 30% off. And now, back to the show.
I think certainly when I was single, I noticed that it's the attention thing, isn't it? It is exhausting keeping up with online, Tinder, Bumble, however it is you want to meet people. You want to meet people. A lot of people will be listening who are single. It's like, well, how else do you meet people? You might go to work, not meet anyone single all week. The online apps are a good way to meet people, but it is an absolute, almost full-time job. And then, of course, all right, on your Saturday, what are you going to go? Go on a date. So there's a real intense energy about that, which I guess what you're referring to is when you do meet someone that you like and you spend some more time with just them and you're in a monogamous relationship, that can maybe give you the space to then flourish in other areas creatively. So celibacy is one way, maybe monogamy is another way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. I anticipate that when I align with someone, you can't control the universe and how things pan out, but my vision is hopefully meeting someone that has an alignment in terms of their life mission in some way, that they're about personal development and personal growth and spiritual ascension, and that they can frame the relationship like I do, which would be the purpose of it is to help each other grow.
And they have to love hydrogen tablets as well.
Yeah, they got to be a biohacker.
You are obsessed with hydrogen tablets.
Not necessarily, though. But here's the thing, though. Like, I went on a date, maybe it was year and a half ago, something like that, and really beautiful woman. I was, like, physically super into it. She was really, really hot. And she seemed very sweet. She's smart. She owns her own business. We got to lunch, and she was working, so we picked a spot that was convenient to her, which wouldn't have been one of my organic, paleo, farm-to-table kind of things, and went to her spot. And I was like, whatever, I'm not going to be a freak. I'll eat whatever they have. It's fine. It's not going to kill me to have one non-organic lunch. And we sit down, and the waiter comes over, hey, can I get you guys some drinks? I always don't want anything because I don't drink when I eat. It's just, Ayurvedic thing. And she orders a Diet Coke, and, like, right there, I'm like, it's over. I don't care how hot she is. It's just we're not in alignment. I just can't. I couldn't be around someone that's destroying their body like that, and I would never impregnate a woman that drinks Diet Coke. It's not going to happen. I don't want a mutant baby. I'm going to do everything I can to give that offspring
what if
at least a fighting
was
chance.
The one, Luke?
No fucking way. The Diet Coke's a deal breaker.
I used to say that about smoking.
That would be a deal breaker too.
It's not the smell.
My last girlfriend smoked, and I dealt with it, and she drank a lot of shit and ate a lot of shit that wasn't in alignment with my particular path, and it was a little bit of a barrier to entry, to be honest. It was tough for me. I tried to overcome it, and after that I was like, yeah, I think a lot of that stuff is actually a deal breaker. It's just, they don't have to be as extreme as I am into all the health stuff and taking hydrogen tabs every hour and being like that weird. But
it's a lot for someone to live up to. They might think they might be healthy. They might think they're being healthy with the Diet Coke.
Right.
It's a lot to live up to, I think, to be Luke Storey's girlfriend.
You know what I find, dude, is now that I'm kind of in this industry, I meet women all the time that are on board with all the stuff that I do, and I'm like, cool. There is.
But you're not flirting with them.
I'm not flirting with them. There is, at least I hope not. There is a small subsect, small albeit, but I mean, there's a lot of really eligible-looking, beautiful women here that I'm sure are talented and smart and have a lot going on, that are healthy. I'm getting out of that scarcity mentality, because that's the way I used to think. Is like, well, I'm never going to find someone that's into the stuff I'm into, so I'll just go with whoever I like and likes me. But there are certain it's not so much the physical stuff. I mean, Diet Coke's pretty extreme in the toxicity level, but it's more about just like what your mission as a person is and being spiritually aligned. For me, my number one thing in life is my relationship with Source and raising my consciousness, period. That's my number one job, and helping other people to do the same if they're interested. So it would have to be someone that is kind of on the same path, because we're gonna miss each other like ships in a night. Otherwise, it's just, if someone's all about making money or all about prestige or fame or whatever, like a lot of people in Hollywood are where I live, it's just like, God, that's not going to work. I want to like grow with someone and be on the same page and on the same wavelength, at least, even if we have our individual lives. Yeah, you don't want a carbon copy of yourself. How fucking boring is that? But there are certain things that I think for me probably have to be in alignment. And what will happen is, in a couple months, God will send me the most amazing woman in the world that drinks fucking Diet Coke. And then I'll have to learn as a spiritual practice how to get over that and not control them.
I really hope that happens.
I mean, this is the irony, and I understand that. But you do have a vision. Like, I'd like to live in a certain type of house.
Yeah.
If a different one comes along and it's a fit and I feel comfortable there, whatever, I'll move in, So it's like you set the vision and the intention, but the results sometimes are up to the universe, and, you never know who you're going to love.
Perfectionism is an interesting thing, I mean, that's one of the things for me that's probably worth working on the hardest. The fact that I think much of my success in my career has been based around control. I'm really good at controlling, and setting an intention and doing it and saying, all right, I want to be a TV presenter, and then making it happen, for example. And of course, with relationships, remember, you try and control someone else. They're like, hang on a second. That's the thing. That's what I have to work on hardest, really. Just letting go. Not letting go necessarily of what they do, but just letting go in so many different ways of just chilling out a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's part of the practice, I think, is finding out what works for you and doing your best to adhere to certain principles, but also having the flexibility and malleability to kind of bend with the wind. It's like you really can't control all the variables in your life, and especially with health and things like that, there's another type of dysfunction that develops when you are too controlling and fucking rigid and freaky. Then you become a neurotic person, and you might be healthy physically, but mentally you're a basket case. And I've experienced that subjectively and objectively in relationship to others. So I think at the end of the day, it is about balance. You're talking always about energy on Zestology, and it's like balanced energy. So a balanced degree of, say, disciplinary energy and a balanced degree of surrendered energy.
Yeah.
Surrender is probably the guiding principle, really, more so than any in my life. And inherent in surrender is letting go.
Yeah.
But you also have to have a bit of discipline. Otherwise, I'm just going to lay here on the couch all day. I just surrender. I'm with God, and that's all I need is God and fresh air and sunshine. Well, that's that's a beautiful way to live, but you're not going to make much of an impact on the world other than in your own growth and evolution. It's sort of,
I was just thinking about the surrender. I just went and did a cryotherapy session. You introduced me to cryo, by the way, a couple of years ago. And it was so cold in there. It's really intense when it's like a whole body chamber.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a bit hard to breathe as well, and you've got one of those things over your
That's
face.
the kind I do in LA now,
And it really, you have to just say, okay, the only way to do this is surrender. Just start to chill a bit, because you can hype yourself up, can't you, too much?
Yeah.
And actually, when we did it on Thursday, I said to Faith, within 15 seconds of going in, I was like, I can't do this.
Were you guys together in there?
Yeah. It's like 4 people can go in at once.
Oh, okay.
But it's just the 2 of us. And I said, I can't do this. She was like, yeah, you can. And then I was like, okay, let's get through the first 30 seconds and then it'll be okay.
Yeah. I like doing things like ice baths and cryo chambers and even saunas and extreme temperatures, because it's good for you and it's just very energizing. But at the same time, there also is that element of physical and moral fortitude that you develop. And you've done a lot of yoga, and there's yoga classes that will kick your ass, and what kicks your ass is just being still, staying present when you're physically uncomfortable, being able to overcome the mind and the ego's desire to make oneself comfortable again, and just to go, okay, I'm going to sit with being uncomfortable. And that's a physical practice that I've really worked hard to develop into my emotional state, where I can be in a situation that's really uncomfortable, like missing the flight, or you go to book your hotel and they're like, sir, we don't have a record of your reservation, sorry, you're out on the street, and you're like, how fast can I get back to homeostasis? And a lot of that discipline has come from doing really uncomfortable physical practices, primarily in the yogic traditions and things like that, to learn how to have that resilience emotionally, so you can handle deaths, breakups, financial loss, taxes, illness, things that are inherent to the human experience.
That is the secret, isn't it?
Yeah. It's that adaptability.
What, we haven't got too long left, but I want to ask you about hydrogen tablets. You're crazy about these things, aren't you? And I'm interested because I've got a very long flight coming back next week, and I've just bought some. Yeah. And I used your code to buy these hydrogen tablets. I've used them a couple of times.
Yeah.
For anyone listening who hasn't had them, it's basically a little tablet that you drop it into a water, and what does it do?
It's called molecular hydrogen.
Yeah.
And so hydrogen, of course, is maybe the first molecule in the universe in existence. Hydrogen is, of course, inherent to water, hence the H2O. So it's a very specific form of the hydrogen molecule. And you have these little tabs. A few companies make them. I like Vital Reaction because it doesn't require a closed cap. You can do it in an open glass, and you put it in, and it's effervescent, so it dissolves, and it creates a hydrogen gas that's in the water. So it's about 13 parts per million, which is also the highest I've been able to find of any other brand. You drink that, and then ideally you want to hold your breath for a little bit, because what happens is when you swallow, I just learned this, when you swallow the hydrogen gas water, and then you breathe, you let out a lot of the gas. And you waste it. So it's another thing. Yeah, you drink it and kind of hold it in, and then it absorbs into your bloodstream. And the hydrogen, essentially, it's super geeky and scientific. I devoted a whole hour-long podcast to just hydrogen. But the short story is, and the non-sciency is, that hydrogen is a master antioxidant and scavenger of free radicals. The ultimate benefit of that is that it's highly anti-inflammatory. So there are things we do that are very inflammatory. Of course, inflammatory foods that we eat, but mostly where the hydrogen comes in is inflammatory outer influences, like flying in an airplane, being in a high EMF field, being in a city like this with Wi-Fi and cell towers and smart meters and all of that stuff. Any form of physical exertion and exercise is very inflammatory. So the hydrogen is really good at reducing the oxidation and inflammation within your body. So you may have taken it and you're like, I don't really feel anything, because it's not a type of thing where you're going to necessarily feel something, where if you took a smart drug or like Qualia, you take 6 Qualia, you're going to feel something. You'll be like, shit, I feel smarter, I feel more alert, my memory, my verbal acuity. It's not like that. You'll recover from exercise faster, you'll recover from flight faster. If you're very sleep deprived, you'll have more energy. So it's a subtle benefit, but there's so much science, so many studies around molecular hydrogen. People use it a lot for cancer recovery. It doesn't cure cancer, but as part of a regimen to get over, cancer treatments and things. And in Japan, most of the hospitals have hydrogen inhalers, and they use them pre-surgery and post-surgery to speed up the healing process, because there's a lot of inflammation that occurs when you cut a body open.
Yeah.
You know? And then in sports and fitness, if you do a tab pre-workout and then do a tab after workout, you'll notice a marked improvement and speed of your recovery. So that's like the best test. And then also on airplanes, back to your point of flying back to the UK, I would buy a couple big bottles of water, when you get through customs or whatever. And then the best thing to do, because you don't want to take get like 4 little water bottles, or just get a cup from the flight attendant.
Yeah.
Then pour a cup of water with 2 tabs in there, and do 2 tabs every 90 minutes or so. And that will dramatically reduce the inflammation that's caused from being up in the air in that pressurized chamber that's very low oxygen.
And if there's anyone listening who likes hydrogen tablets, who's single, who would like to meet Luke in 2 months' time, not yet, 2 months' time.
Probably a couple months.
Turn up with some hydrogen tablets at one of his gigs.
I'm telling you, that's an instant key to the kingdom. Yeah. But I also have an inhaler in my Airbnb here. I have the Vital Reaction inhaler, which is 7% hydrogen gas, and that's like beyond another level.
Really?
And you do 15-minute sessions on that.
Yeah, wow.
And that one, you do feel subjectively, it really clears your mind. If you have kind of brain fog, or you're just a little bit out of it, it's definitely perks you up, and it's really good for your vision as well. When you do the inhaler, it goes straight into your brain through your nasal cavity, and it's really good for your eyes. And sometimes my eyes bother me these days, so I noticed the hydrogen really helps with my vision. And just like when my eyes are kind of dry and sore, do a hydrogen session, it's like, oh shit, my eyes feel better. It's crazy.
So something I've asked you on this podcast before is, what is one book you'd recommend and one tip for more energy? Is there any books that you've read recently that have resonated that you think might be good to recommend? You recommended, by the way, to me, No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great book.
The Cure for People Pleasing. That book's amazing.
I interviewed him on my podcast as well.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's a great guy. Dr. Robert Glover.
No way. You got him on your show?
Yeah, you should speak to him.
Oh my God, I want to do a show on people pleasing.
He's based in Mexico, I think.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Wow, I never thought to look him up for some reason. I was like, oh, he's probably not around. That's amazing. I gave that book to my friend James, who's also British. Very proper. He's from Manchester.
Yeah.
Very proper. When I met him, he's the kind of guy like, you step on his toe and he'll apologize. Sorry, I got my foot in your way. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And I was like, James, come on, dude. We got to get you out of this people-pleasing, fucking sterile British manners thing. Stop having manners with me. Like, be rude. And so he took it kind of to the other extreme for a minute after the book. It started being kind of like confronting everyone.
Yeah, these are my boundaries.
Yeah. He'd call me, Luke, I just told off this fucking guy at the gas station. It was amazing. I was like, well, you want to be kind still. But anyway, but I love that book. The recent book that I've read, I read it, and then halfway through, I bought the audiobook because I was like, this is so amazing that I need to take this in on a deeper level. And it's a book by Jen Sincero, and it's called You Are a Badass at Making Money. And a lot of the work that I'm doing in terms of stepping out of relationship, I'm really focusing on my relationship with money and uncovering a lot of limiting preconceived ideas and beliefs that I have around wealth, around rich people, about my ability to make money. And that book has been a game changer, and she's such a great writer because she has the rare ability to write in the same voice that she speaks. So you really hear her personality in the writing, and it's really easy to take in. It's written in a way that's like digestible and understandable. It's not deeply esoteric. It's just like, hey, do you feel like a dumbass and like you can't be rich and rich people suck? Like that's how she writes, and then you hear her speak, and that's how she speaks. It's in a very common vernacular that's easy to digest, but the principles that she's teaching in the book are very powerful spiritual principles around abundance and around some of the ideas that we people, at least in our culture, pick up around like rich guilt and money-making guilt. Right. And that rich people, I have this belief that A, I'm not smart enough to be rich. B, I'm being honest. B, rich people are dicks. So it's like, am I going to get rich having a belief that I don't deserve it and that I'm not smart enough or talented enough to be rich, and if I was, then I would have to be an asshole and be a bad person? I mean, these are some of the things that book helped me to look at, and I had a realization the other day that was really deep-seated, and that book helped bring it to light, and that was, there were times when I was a kid that my mom, who primarily raised me, would say disparaging things about men that were wealthy. And I took that on. Oh, those rich white guys, they're dicks. And now I'm an adult wanting wealth in my life. I want to own a home. There's things that I want that aren't even that extravagant, just kind of normal shit that you have when you're creeping up on 50. And I started uncovering some of those. So You Are a Badass at Making Money is a really great book for anyone that struggles around their experience with wealth.
It occurred to me when you were talking then, Brits just don't express themselves in the same ways as Americans. I'm just focusing on my relationship with money. We never like talk about
You wouldn't say that?
No, we
That's
wouldn't. But it's
funny.
Good. It's good.
That's funny. But it is a relationship, is it not?
Yeah,
When you go online and you look at your bank, it's like you're relating to those figures and those numbers and how you get more of it, and if you should be giving some away, or if you're spending too much or spending too little. It's a currency, meaning that it's fluid. That's why we call it currency. It moves in and out. It's an energy, and so we're relating to that energy in different ways. And you look at the people that are high performing and really accumulate a massive wealth. They have a different relationship to that energy and to that currency than someone of a poverty consciousness. And you look at two people with the same opportunities in life, same skills, same demographic. One excels financially and one doesn't. Why? It's because they each have a different relationship to that currency. It's interesting stuff.
Very interesting. Yeah, I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, it's cool.
So the final question, what is one tip that you would give for more energy, vitality, and motivation?
Oh, man, that's easy.
You obviously answered it before, but what are you going to go
I don't even remember
today?
what I said last time, but dude, after all of the biohacking and all the health stuff that I've been into for 21 plus years now, I've tried every supplement, every device, every practice, everything you can to feel awesome, have energy, be able to execute whatever your goals are on a day-to-day basis. And I've got to say, the number one thing is, drum roll please, lots of quality sleep. I cannot find anything that works better than that.
Yeah.
Because I'll have a night of deprived sleep, self-imposed, and I get up the next day and I take every literally, maybe $100 worth of supplements and thousands of dollars worth of biohacking technology, and I think that's going to make up for that sleep debit.
Yeah.
And I feel better. I do all the stuff I do. Then the next night I get a solid, nice 8-hour sleep where I'm asleep by 11.
You don't need anything.
Yeah, and the next day I'm like, I don't even need any of this bullshit.
Yeah.
Literally all I needed was a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And, in the health circles, the sleep thing is kind of a big meme and a trend right now, and there's a good reason for it. I truly believe it is the number one thing that is necessary to feel that vitality and that energy. We really need quality sleep.
It's great to see you again.
You
Next
too,
time
dude.
we chat, you might be celibate, you might not.
Hopefully not.
We'll find out.
Let's be honest. At some point, I'm like, I wouldn't say I miss it, but
you're almost ready. Not quite.
Yeah,
almost.
I'm looking. Put it this way: I'm looking forward to breaking the experiment. With the right person in a healthy way. Yeah.
You need to not wait too long, otherwise the Diet Coke sipping girl is going to seem attractive.
Yeah, I know, right? I'll meet a girl. She's like, I'm a serial killer on the side. I'm like, it's fine. Are you ready to have sex? Yeah.
Thanks, mate. Where can people find out, obviously, your outstanding podcast and everything that you
thanks,
do, and
dude.
the code for the molecular hydrogen as well?
Oh, yeah, there's a company, and, I'm an affiliate for them, so if you buy it, I make $5 or something, so disclosure on that. But it's literally the best company that I found making the hydrogen. They're called Vital Reaction. Their site's vital-reaction.com, and the code, if you want 10% off, is LukeH2. But more importantly, my company, I have a podcast, as you said, called The Lifestylist, and that's my pride and joy, and that's what I'm really putting the most energy into. And then
Which I've been on.
Yeah, you have been on. Yeah, NLP. We got to do another one too.
Yeah,
actually, we're due for that.
Yeah,
because I've had some people on twice now, so I guess I can do that.
We've been doing some great stuff with NLP over the last few weeks.
Ooh,
we've launched
really?
a course based around unplugging from technology with NLP. It's really exciting, actually. Yeah.
I want to take the course.
So it's about beating tech distraction. I'll give you.
Cool,
I'd love
dude.
to know what you think of it.
Oh,
I'll send you a login. It'd be great.
Yeah, I'm pretty addicted to my phone. Speaking of phone, you can find me on Instagram at Luke Storey, and my website is lukestorey.com, and all my stuff's there. It's STOREY.
Brilliant. Luke, good to see you.
You too, bro.
That's it. Thank you to Luke Storey. Thank you for listening to Zestology as well. And if you would like to get 3 zesty things in your inbox every Monday morning, head to tonywrighton.com. It'll be clear when you get there where to put your name and your email address. And it's just 3 links, zesty things. In fact, I think I've written one here based on the 3 things that I've done to counter jet lag, because I've been flying so much recently, what with flights to Texas and Turkey and Shanghai as well. So yeah, 3 zesty things. Head to tonywrighton.com and you'll get that. And that is pretty much it from Shanghai as well. Next week I'll be back in the UK after all my travelling. I'm going to carry on watching this guy in front of me limber up with some outstanding Qigong movements and postures. I feel quite inspired to do the same thing. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.